Screencast. My name is Viliami and today I'll be talking about petty cash. So, you're probably wondering what a petty cash fund is. A petty cash fund is the amount of cash kept on hand to pay for minor expenditures and is attended to by a person called a custodian. Examples would include the purchase of office supplies or even postage for small mailings. Now that we know what a petty cash fund is, let's move on to the steps needed to establish the fund. There are 3 steps. 1. Establishing the fund. 2. Making payments from the fund. And 3. Replenishing the fund. The first step is established by writing a check for the amount of the fund, cashing it, and giving it to the custodian who looks after the cash. To illustrate this, let's say that on the 1st of June, Michael's Fishery cashes a $100 check to establish the petty cash fund and gives the cash to the custodian. This would be recorded as followed, where petty cash is debited and cash is credited. Notice how there's no total change in assets? This is because they have not yet distributed the cash outside the business. The second step is making payments from the fund. Here, the payments can be made in one of 2 ways. Cash can be taken from the fund to make payment, or the employees can seek reimbursement for the previous purchases they have made. It should be noted that the custodian should be collecting receipts and authorizations for all uses of cash. The third and final step in this process is replenishing the fund. This is because as cash in the fund is used, it must be replenished. This is done by counting the remaining cash and cashing a check for the remainder needed to bring the fund back up to its original value, in this case, $100. The report shows that the fund needs $85 to be replenished, therefore the custodian would cash a check for $85. The journal entry for the replenishing the fund can be seen below, where the expenses are debited and the cash is credited. In some cases, when the fund is replenished, there will be a difference between the cash needed for the replenishment of the fund and the total amount of receipts. This can be due to incorrect change or failing to obtain all receipts. This disparity can be charged to an account called cash overshort, a temporary account that can have either a debit or credit balance. To show you how to journalize this account, let's pretend that the petty fund actually had $10 remaining in the fund instead of $15. The report below would then show you that there's a difference between the cash requested to replenish the fund and the receipts obtained. Therefore, the $5 difference would then be charged to an account called cash overshort, which would then be debited in a journal entry. As you can see, cash overshort is now debited, and that concludes today's screencast of petty funds. Thank you for listening to my screencast.